We're tasked in writing a method called mirrorHalves. It's going to accept a queue of integers as its parameter, and it's going to replace each half of that queue with itself plus a mirrored version. So if we have something like this, it's going to be split in half, and we're going to want to mirror this first part after this part, and then we'll take this part, still in order, and then mirror that to the back. If we're passed a empty queue, the result should be an empty queue. We're not changing anything. If our method is passed a null queue, or one that is not an even size, we need to throw an IllegalArgumentException. And that is what this if statement takes care of right here. If our queue is null, or if the size is not even, we throw this. Now, we're allowed to use a stack or a queue as auxiliary storage. Since we are doing a problem where we have to change the order of this, I find it easier to do the opposite of what is passed in. That's why I'm going to use a stack, but it can also be done with a queue, I believe. Possibly, maybe, I don't know. I chose a stack. Again, that's just because stack is first in, last out, and queue is first in, first out. Since they have different ways of working, I find it easier to manipulate when using them together. This is my thought process. We're going to take a look at the first half, and then we're going to put it into our stack. We're also going to append it to the back of our queue so that it is still in this order. Now, since our stack is first in, last out, we can then put the values in the stack back to our queue, so then we'll have this behind that. So this is already going to be in the sorted order. All we have to do then is just repeat it for this next part. If that doesn't make sense, we'll code it right now and you'll understand it. We're going to need a for loop that runs half of the stack because we're going to look at half at a time. So inside of this variable called size, we're going to store q.size divided by 2. Now is where we get into our for loop, and this is where we're going to be moving things around. So we're going to start at 0 and we're going to run it as long as it's less than size, and we have a++. Now inside of here, we want to add to the back of our queue and also push to our stack. So we're going to do a q.add, we're going to do q.peek because we don't want to remove it yet since we still have to pass it to our stack. We're going to do s.push, this is pushing it to our stack, so this is where we do q.remove. And that is going to be it for our first half of the moving. We want to move these values back to our queue, so we'll do this with a while loop, and we'll run it as long as our s is not empty. That's what this is for. We'll do a q.add, and then we're just popping off from our stack. Now, this is going to put this first part in order. However, we're still going to have a 54, 30, 67 in the very front because we only removed the first half. So all we need to do for the second half is literally just repeat this. So we're going to just put this down here. We're going to run the same code and eventually put everything back in our queue. That is pretty much it. You could probably write this in its own separate method and then just call that method twice. So that would be a lot less code. Let's submit that. Try that on your own though. That could be a pretty fun project. That'll pass 6 out of 6 tests. And that's how we would do this self-check exercise.